Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. You can't manipulate what you can't access. That's the unspoken rule that makes Sigma females the ultimate anomaly and the narcissist's worst-case scenario. While narcissists float through life charming, gaslighting, and collecting admiration like Pokemon cards, they run into a serious system error when they cross paths with a Sigma female. Why? Because she's not just immune to their tactics. She disassembles them like IKEA furniture without the manual and somehow still ends up with extra screws. Here's a fact. According to psychological studies, narcissists rely heavily on predictable emotional patterns in their targets. Attention-seeking, approval addiction, people-pleasing. The Sigma female? She operates on a completely different emotional operating system. Minimal input, maximum self-sufficiency, zero need for external validation, and that is terrifying. In this video, we're diving deep, not into tired clichés, but into the raw, rare traits that make Sigma females not just a threat to narcissists, but a walking psychological paradox they can't decode, control, or consume. Let's get uncomfortable, because the truth isn't cute, but it's powerful. Number 1. She won't participate in their delusions. Narcissists live in a fantasy, not the dreamy kind. More like a self-made movie where they're always the star. In their heads, they're the smartest, most misunderstood, most desirable person in the room. They craft these roles carefully, the victim when they need sympathy, the hero when they want admiration, the genius when they want control. And most people, without realizing it, play along. They nod, sympathize, validate, and feed the illusion. That's how narcissists keep their ego inflated, through a carefully maintained script that others unknowingly act out. But Sigma females? They don't play roles. They don't buy the act. And they definitely don't read from anyone else's script. This is what terrifies narcissists the most. A Sigma female sees through the performance, not because she's trying to expose anyone, but because she's not emotionally distracted. She doesn't get pulled into the glittery storytelling or the emotional bait. While others get caught in the narcissist's narrative, she's sitting there thinking, this doesn't add up. Her brain scans for authenticity, and when it's missing, she just opts out. This isn't passive either. It's silent rejection. She doesn't challenge the narcissist's fantasy with loud arguments or accusations. That would still give them attention, which they'd love. Instead, she simply doesn't engage. She's unmoved, uninterested, and emotionally unavailable to the performance. To a narcissist, that's a brutal kind of invisibility, because someone refusing to validate them is like oxygen being cut off. The worst part for the narcissist, she doesn't even look impressed. Not by the sob story, not by the fake humility, not by the grand achievements or tragic past. And when someone refuses to buy the fiction, the narcissist starts to question their own script. That's where their panic starts. Because if one person can see through them, others might too. Sigma females don't just ignore the delusion. They shatter its power without even raising their voice. Number 2, her independence is not just financial, it's psychological. A lot of people confuse independence with having your own money or not needing a partner to survive. And yes, financial independence is powerful too, but Sigma females go way beyond that. Their real strength lies in psychological independence. That's the kind narcissists can't touch, manipulate, or override. And that's exactly why it shakes them to the core. Most people have minds that are a little bit open for rent, not because they're weak, but because we're social creatures. We seek approval, we doubt ourselves, we internalize what others say about us. Narcissists use that natural human vulnerability like a remote control. They say just the right thing to make you question yourself, feel small, feel guilty, or chase their validation. It's not about love, it's about domination disguised as connection. But Sigma females, their minds aren't up for rent, not even for a second. You can't guilt them into changing course. You can't shame them into submission, and you definitely can't praise them into compliance. They're what you'd call a self-referencing system. They check in with themselves, not external voices. Their goals come from within. Their emotions aren't outsourced, and their self-worth isn't hanging on anyone's approval. This is pure kryptonite for narcissists. They rely on being able to plant ideas in your mind and sit back while you water them. They need access to your insecurities, your doubts, your emotional buttons. But the Sigma female gives them nothing. No access, no openings. She's not cold. She's clear. She knows what's hers and what isn't. Your opinion of her, not her business. Your attempts to control her, not her concern. That kind of internal freedom is something narcissists will never understand and never conquer. And that's what truly terrifies them. A woman who can't be owned, edited, or emotionally hacked. Number 3, she's incorruptible by flattery or threats. Narcissists are masters of swinging between extremes. They'll either shower you with praise or freeze you out with silent treatment and subtle threats. It's not random, it's calculated. They use flattery to pull people in and fear to keep them close. Most people, even the confident ones, respond to one or the other. Compliments feel good, disapproval stings. That's what narcissists count on, emotional leverage. But the Sigma female breaks that system completely. She doesn't melt when praised. She doesn't shrink when criticized. She's not playing for external validation, so she can't be lured by it or punished by its absence. Narcissists find that infuriating because it leaves them with nothing to work with. Try to flatter her, she'll clock the intention before you even finish the sentence. She's not impressed by exaggerated compliments or strategic charm. She knows the difference between authentic recognition and manipulation dressed up as admiration. And since she isn't hungry for approval, she doesn't chase it, not even a little. Try to threaten her with disapproval, withdrawal, or rejection. Useless. Sigma females don't respond to emotional intimidation. She's not afraid of being disliked, misunderstood, or even alone. She'd rather lose everyone than lose herself. That kind of clarity? You can't bully it. You can't bribe it. And that's the real problem for the narcissist. They realize very quickly that they have no buttons to push, no flattery access, no fear access, no leverage. It's like trying to control a ghost. You reach, and there's nothing there to grab. So they either retreat, furious and confused, or they keep circling back, trying harder each time to find the chink in her armor. But there isn't one, because the Sigma female doesn't wear armor. She is the storm, and no sweet word or subtle threat can tame her. Number 4, she knows her darkness, so it can't be used against her. Narcissists are skilled at finding cracks in people, the hidden insecurities, the quiet regrets, the parts we hide from the world and from ourselves. They use those cracks like crowbars. Shame is their favorite weapon because once they sense you're trying to hide something, they know they can control you. A little humiliation here, a veiled judgment there, and suddenly you're off balance, second-guessing yourself, vulnerable to their manipulation. But the Sigma female, she has no hidden file, no shame waiting to be uncovered, because she's already done the work most people avoid. She's met her own darkness and made peace with it. She knows her flaws, her failures, the moments she's not proud of. She doesn't flinch when confronted with her past because she's owned it. She doesn't pretend to be perfect, pure, or untouchable, and that's exactly what makes her untouchable. You can't blackmail someone who has nothing to hide. You can't tear down someone who's already taken a good hard look at her shadow and decided, yeah, that's me too, and I'm still here. Narcissists hate this. Their whole strategy relies on their target needing to maintain an image, to be liked, to be seen a certain way. But the Sigma female has no interest in performing. She's not chasing a polished identity. She is who she is. Raw, real, unfiltered. That makes her terrifying to a narcissist because they can't manipulate what they can't shame. Try to expose her? There's nothing to reveal. Try to humiliate her? She's heard worse, but from herself. Try to guilt trip her. She's already had that conversation in her own head, processed it, and moved on. Her radical self-acceptance is a fortress narcissists can't penetrate. And they know it. She doesn't just live with her darkness. She commands it. That's not just rare, that's dangerous to anyone who depends on control. Number 5, she doesn't need closure because she creates her own. Closure is one of the narcissist's favorite traps. They dangle it like a prize. The final conversation, the long-awaited apology, the explanation that never quite comes. It keeps people hooked, waiting, obsessing, hoping for a moment that feels complete. That emotional limbo is where the narcissist thrives, because as long as you're waiting for answers, they still have power. But Sigma females don't play that game. She doesn't wait for apologies that will never be genuine, or conversations that are just more manipulation in disguise. When something breaks, she reads the signs, processes the truth, and closes the door herself. No ceremony, no need for mutual understanding. She knows that clarity doesn't always come with closure, and she's learned to make peace with that. To a narcissist, this is maddening. They expect you to orbit them long after the relationship is over, through anger, confusion, or longing. They expect you to chase meaning, to want resolution. But the Sigma female doesn't chase. She doesn't circle back. She writes her own ending. And it's usually silent, swift, and irreversible. That kind of detachment doesn't come from coldness. It comes from emotional maturity. She understands that closure is often just a disguised plea for validation, and she doesn't need it, because her healing doesn't depend on someone else's accountability. She gives herself the truth, accepts the pain, and then moves forward like a chapter turned. No need to reread it. To the narcissist, that's not just rejection, it's annihilation, because someone who can walk away without needing anything from them, that's someone they can't haunt, and if they can't linger in your mind, they lose, completely. The Sigma female's ability to self-close is rare and powerful. It denies the narcissist the last word, the final scene, the lingering drama. And instead of chasing ghosts, she disappears, not wounded, not broken, but finished. On her terms. Number 6, she's capable of ruthless compassion. Sigma females are not cold, they're just precise. They feel deeply, but they don't drown in it. Their compassion is real, but it comes with boundaries like steel. That's what makes them different, and dangerous to narcissists who rely on weaponized pity to keep people emotionally hostage. Narcissists know exactly how to play the victim. They twist their flaws into tragic backstories, their cruelty into misunderstood pain. They count on empathy to override logic. They want you to feel sorry enough to stay, to excuse, to forgive again and again, all while they take more than they give. But the Sigma female doesn't fall for emotional bait. She sees the damage behind the behavior. She understands the narcissist might be broken, insecure, or deeply wounded, and still chooses to walk away. That's what makes her compassion ruthless. It's not dependent on fixing, saving, or enduring. She doesn't need to dehumanize someone to let them go. She can look someone in the eye, understand their pain, and still say, "This is not my responsibility." That's terrifying to a narcissist, because it short-circuits their entire manipulation model. Most people either get emotionally entangled or turn cold and reactive. The Sigma does neither. She remains composed, clear, and heartbreakingly kind, even when she's cutting ties. That emotional precision is unnerving. It says, "I care enough to understand you, but I value myself too much to stay entangled with you." And there's nothing a narcissist fears more than being seen and still being left. They want people to stay either out of guilt or out of hope. But the Sigma gives them neither. No drama, no screaming exit, just a calm recognition of the truth, and a door that closes without a single word wasted. It's empathy without self-abandonment, compassion without captivity. And to a narcissist who survives by manipulating emotions, that combination is lethal. Number 7, she lives in a world that doesn't center the narcissist. Narcissists operate with one core belief: everything revolves around them. They expect to be the center of attention, the main character in every room, the gravitational force pulling everyone in. Whether through charm, chaos, or crisis, they find ways to stay in focus. And most people, knowingly or not, orbit them, reacting, adjusting, accommodating. But the Sigma female, she doesn't orbit anyone. She's not a planet circling someone else's ego. She exists in her own galaxy with her own gravitational pull. Her world isn't built to flatter or accommodate someone else's need for significance. And that is a nightmare for any narcissist who thinks their presence alone should command the stage. She doesn't ignore the narcissist to be rude. She just doesn't care. Her energy isn't being spent wondering what they think of her, what they're up to, or how she can fit into their narrative. In fact, she's probably not thinking about them at all. To a narcissist, that's not just rejection, it's invisibility. And for someone whose survival depends on being noticed, that kind of indifference cuts deeper than hate ever could. They might try harder, louder jokes, bigger gestures, manufactured drama, anything to draw her in, but it doesn't work. Her life is full without their noise. Her focus is internal, not performative. She doesn't need an audience, and she doesn't offer herself as one either. What makes it worse for the narcissist is that the Sigma female's disinterest isn't rooted in malice or competition. It's just natural. She doesn't need to outshine anyone. She simply shines elsewhere. In her world, your approval isn't a currency, and your absence doesn't create a vacuum. That ego eclipse, being so utterly irrelevant in someone's eyes, is unbearable to a narcissist. They crave reactions, even negative ones, but the Sigma offers nothing. Just stillness, just silence, just sovereignty. And that's not just rejection. It's a quiet declaration. You were never the center here to begin with. Number 8. She doesn't play the fixer role. Narcissists love brokenness, but not their own. They just love performing it in front of the right audience. And the perfect audience, in their eyes, is the empathic fixer. Someone who believes love can heal, patience can transform, and pain makes people more real. Narcissists feed on that hope. It gives them attention, forgiveness, and endless second chances without ever having to change. But the Sigma female doesn't fall for that script. She doesn't step into the role of emotional nurse or spiritual midwife. She sees the mess, understands the origin, but chooses not to touch it. She doesn't shame them for being wounded. She just refuses to be recruited into the cleanup crew. This isn't coldness, it's discernment. She knows the difference between someone who wants to heal and someone who just wants to be enabled. Narcissists don't seek healing, they seek containment. They want someone to keep their image intact, soothe their ego when it cracks, and tell them they're special even when they're toxic. The Sigma female offers none of that. She doesn't take on pain that doesn't belong to her. She doesn't make excuses for behavior just because it came from a broken place. She doesn't believe that trauma is a license to manipulate, and most importantly, she knows that trying to fix someone who enjoys being broken is just self-betrayal disguised as compassion. To a narcissist, that kind of boundary feels like betrayal. They expect people to be moved by their suffering, to lean in, to try harder. The Sigma female doesn't. She listens, maybe even nods, and then steps back. No rescue mission, no project, no illusion of, if I love you enough, you'll change. That refusal to play the fixer doesn't make her cruel. It makes her free. She honors someone's story without getting entangled in it. She lets the narcissist bleed, not out of malice, but out of respect for her own energy. And that quiet detachment sends a brutal message. Your healing is your job, not my sacrifice. Number 9. Her disinterest is a narcissist's worst nightmare. Narcissists are addicted to attention like it's a lifeline. Their entire identity depends on being seen, admired, feared, or envied. They'll spin stories, perform dramas, and manufacture crises just to make sure eyes stay glued to them. Because without that spotlight, they fade into nothing, which terrifies them more than anything else. Now imagine a Sigma female stepping into that scene and not even blinking. She's not distracted by their games, their charm, or their chaos. She doesn't laugh at their jokes, doesn't react to their insults, and definitely doesn't crave their approval. Her disinterest isn't loud or aggressive. It's almost invisible. But to a narcissist, it's radioactive. That silence, that blank space where admiration or fear should be, feels like the slow death of their ego. It's quiet, but it screams, "You don't matter here." And that's the cruelest cut of all. Most people, even when they're upset, still react. They argue, they plead, they get hurt. Any reaction feeds the narcissist's ego, keeps them relevant. But the Sigma female's disinterest starves that ego. It says, I see you, and I choose not to engage. That choice, it's devastating. It's not just rejection. It's the ultimate erasure of significance, the refusal to validate the narcissist's self-importance. For someone whose world revolves around being the center, being met with indifference is worse than confrontation, because confrontation still acknowledges your existence. Indifference wipes it away. That's why narcissists fear Sigma females so much. Their disinterest isn't spiteful or vengeful. It's a boundary, a statement of self-respect, and the death knell for anyone trying to control them, quiet, brutal, and final. Number 10. She doesn't react. She studies. Narcissists are emotional puppeteers. They thrive on reactions, confusion, anger, jealousy, tears. It doesn't matter whether the emotion is positive or negative, as long as it's intense. That's how they feed their ego and control the dynamic. The louder you respond, the more power they feel. They want you off balance, always guessing, always triggered. But when a narcissist tries this on a Sigma female, they hit a wall. She doesn't explode, she doesn't protest, she doesn't even flinch. She watches. That silence? It's not passivity, it's processing. While the narcissist is performing their little show, the Sigma is gathering information. She studies tone, body language, inconsistencies, and patterns. Every manipulation attempt gets stored, not emotionally, but tactically. It becomes part of an internal case file she builds without ever tipping her hand. And yes, narcissists feel it. They feel her presence like a mirror they can't distort. This is terrifying to them. Most people are emotionally readable. They react predictably. But the Sigma female's lack of visible response creates a vacuum. The narcissist can't gauge whether their tactics are working. They can't control what they can't read. That unreadability is not just frustrating, it's threatening. It means they're not in control. And she doesn't waste energy explaining herself either. She won't argue to prove a point or defend herself just to make someone else feel right. She's too intelligent for performative reactions. Her silence isn't weakness, it's evidence gathering. And when she finally acts, it's swift, clean, and usually permanent. To a narcissist, that's the ultimate danger. Someone who doesn't scream but sees. Someone who doesn't play but plans. They can't destabilize her because she never gave them access to her emotional center in the first place. All they get is her quiet gaze, sharp, unmoved, and taking mental notes they'll never be allowed to see. And by the time they realize they've been profiled, she's already 5 steps ahead, calm, composed, and done. Number 11. She doesn't want to be chosen. She chooses. Narcissists thrive on creating competition. They drop hints, flirt with ambiguity, and keep people guessing, all to create the illusion that their attention is some rare, coveted reward. Their power lies in making others feel like they have to earn a spot beside them. And most people fall for it, bending themselves into versions they think will finally be chosen. But the Sigma female doesn't play that game. She doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses. She knows her worth without needing it validated by someone else's spotlight. The narcissist's need to feel like the prize doesn't impress her. It irritates her at best and amuses her at worst. She's not moved by breadcrumbs of attention or gestures meant to spark jealousy. She doesn't compete for affection because she doesn't chase what she doesn't genuinely value. And here's the kicker. The more the narcissist tries to make her prove herself, the faster she loses interest. She sees that kind of behavior for what it is, insecurity wrapped in ego. When someone tries to audition people for their approval, she doesn't step up. She steps away. What narcissists don't understand is that Sigma females aren't wired to seek status through relationships. Being picked isn't flattering to her, it's irrelevant, because she never hands over the pen and lets someone else write her value. She's not waiting for validation, for confirmation, or for some ego-fueled yes from someone who thinks they're doing her a favor. So when a narcissist tries to dangle their attention like it's gold, the Sigma female doesn't scramble to grab it. She looks at the offer, weighs the substance, and often walks right past it, unimpressed, unmoved, and completely in control of her own narrative. And for the narcissist, that's the worst possible outcome. Being ignored by the one person who never wanted their crown because she was already a kingdom. Number 12. She doesn't emotionally invest in people until they've earned it. Narcissists are masters of emotional speed. They come in strong, intense eye contact, deep conversations, uncanny emotional mirroring. They make you feel seen, understood, even chosen. It's not genuine intimacy, it's strategy. The faster you bond, the easier you are to manipulate. Most people get swept up in that rush and fall hard before they even realize they've been hooked. But Sigma females move differently. They don't get high off emotional fast-tracking. They're slow, deliberate, and observant. Their emotional energy is sacred, and it doesn't get handed out just because someone's charming or persistent. A narcissist can put on the perfect show, but she's not clapping, she's watching. And that's the danger for the narcissist. They rely on instant investment, emotional flooding, love bombing, vulnerability traps. But the Sigma female doesn't bite. She's emotionally disciplined. She can enjoy the conversation without assuming it means anything deeper. She can connect without committing. And while others are falling headfirst into the illusion, she's quietly collecting data. She watches how people treat others when they're not being watched. She notices micro-reactions, entitlement, arrogance, inconsistency, and she files it all away before making any real move. It's not coldness, it's clarity. She knows that time exposes everyone, and she has zero interest in emotionally investing in someone who hasn't earned a seat at her table. To a narcissist, that kind of restraint is unsettling. Their charm usually gets them in the door, fast. But with the Sigma, there's no door unless they've passed every unspoken test. And most narcissists fail before they even realize they're being vetted. That emotional gatekeeping makes the Sigma nearly impossible to trap. The narcissist can't mirror what she won't show. They can't manipulate what isn't emotionally available. And they can't hook someone who's not reaching back. To them, she's unreadable, unshakable, and completely untouchable. Because she's not waiting to feel something. She's waiting to see everything. Narcissists thrive in environments where they can control, manipulate, and bend others to their will. Their power comes from exploiting vulnerabilities, emotional openings where they can sneak in, sow doubt, and keep people tethered to their drama. But Sigma females exist in a different realm entirely. They don't fit into the narcissist's script because they refuse to play by their rules. Their independence isn't just about financial freedom, it's a deep psychological fortress where narcissistic tactics bounce off like rain on steel. They see through the facades, reject the bait of flattery and threats, and refuse to rent space in their minds for toxic manipulation. The Sigma female's strength lies in her complete ownership of self, her light and her darkness, her strengths and her flaws. She carries no masks because she's already met every part of herself, no matter how uncomfortable or complicated, and embraced it unapologetically. That radical self-awareness leaves nothing for a narcissist to exploit. There's no secret shame to weaponize, no emotional unfinished business to trap her in, and no craving for closure that can be used as a leash. What makes her truly formidable is her ability to balance ruthless compassion with unshakable boundaries. She can recognize the brokenness behind the narcissist's act without getting sucked into the chaos. She offers neither savior nor victim, but stands firmly as an observer, detached, discerning, and sovereign. Her refusal to be a fixer or emotional crutch breaks the narcissist's cycle of control and entitlement. And above all, the Sigma female lives in a world where the narcissist simply doesn't matter. Her disinterest is not a game or a punishment. It's a declaration of autonomy. To a narcissist, that is a silent, devastating ego death, a quiet, brutal end to their illusions of power. In the end, Sigma females are feared not because they fight loudly or seek revenge, but because they embody something narcissists cannot touch: freedom. Freedom from needing approval, freedom from emotional traps, and freedom from surrendering their true selves. They are living proof that the greatest power lies not in control over others, but in control over oneself. And for a narcissist, that truth is the most terrifying reality of all. If this opened your eyes or challenged what you thought you knew, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share your thoughts, because real conversations start when we break free from old scripts. Subscribe if you want to dive deeper into the truths no one else dares to say. This isn't just content. It's a movement toward understanding power, boundaries, and self-mastery. Join the conversation. Speak your mind. Spread the truth. Let's change the way we see strength, together.